The following feature has been rated R by the Motion Picture Association of America. This indicates that the film contains mature material. Parents may wish to consider whether it should be viewed by children under 17.
Sorry to interrupt.
Are you okay?
I need to get out of a toxic relationship.
Why don't you start by telling us what brought you here?
My boss, he's different.
You can't get him out of your head.
No.
I need your assistance.
I'm coming, Master! Oh, you feel like he could destroy you with the snap of his fingers.
Wouldn't even need to snap.
Okay.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, what?
Renfield, bring in innocent victims. I want a handful of nuns, a busload of cheerleaders.
And I just want a normal life again. But this modern world is a dangerous place.
Thank you. You saved my life. Did I watch you cut a guy with a decorative serving platter?
It's all in the wrist.
Let me explain.
My boss gave me this power. In return, I tend to his needs, including care, feeding.
You bring him people to eat? You're like the guy that gets the villain's Postmates.
But if you were to stop focusing on his needs, what would happen?
He won't grow to full power.
Exactly. He won't grow to full power. What? That's so weird. Why would you phrase it like that? But yes. Hi. Are you here for the meeting? Well, come on.
No! Some call me the Dark One. Others, the Lord of Death. To most, I am Dracula.
Okay, obviously we're dealing with a little bit more than just narcissism here.
Now, let's eat.
It's the 10th year of my movie month. 30 movies, 30 days. Movie month, 30 podcasts, 30 days. Movie month, 30 movies, 30 days, 30 podcasts. It's year 10.
Good evening and welcome back to Movie Month. It is the 9th day of June, which means for the 9th day in a row I've watched a movie and now I'm here podcasting about it. Now, here's a funny little sidebar. About 2021, I called up my friend one day on the phone and I said, "Oh no, a strange man came out of the woods and bit me on the neck, and now I talk like this all the time." It was a funny joke, and then I just kept doing it and doing it for years. I would call him and I would say dirty, filthy, dirty things. Just horrific things, and I would say them in his voice. And I would talk like this, and I would talk like that. To the point where we were going to do a podcast called David and the Dracula. I was going to be the Dracula. And 2 years later, I still call him from time to time, and I say, "David, hello, how are you doing this evening? And then I'll say something very inappropriate, and I'm losing it and I'm stopping. But yes, there's just something about that stereotypical Dracula voice that is not even like, I know I'm just copying something, and I'm saying stupid things because it just sounds very funny. And I would call him when his kids were in the car, like teenagers and his friends, and I would say just ridiculous things just to make them laugh, because that is it was almost like doing a podcast over the phone. And we were talking about doing David and the Dracula, but it never happened. Where we just talk about normal things, but I never break character, which would be hard. I couldn't even do it, for 3 minutes into this movie podcast. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is related to today's movie. As I watched the 2023 or 2022, where are we here? Now, I know the year we're in now is 2023, but this movie, 2023, it just came out back in March, I see. I'm watching the 2023 Chris McKay, not Adam McKay, which I very much didn't, I made the confusion of. Comedy horror film, Renfield. Now, Renfield is a character from the original Dracula. And what they did was basically, if you haven't seen the movie, it is on Peacock today. Today was the first day that it premiered on Peacock, so you can watch it. If you were like most people and didn't see it in the theater, you can now watch it on Peacock. It did not do very well in the theaters. It did not get a very good score on Rotten Tomatoes and I hate sometimes that I see Rotten Tomatoes, because I do admit that I'll get swayed to a point like, oh, people didn't really like this, and then I'll watch it and I'll go, oh, this is why people didn't really like this, or people really like this. Oh, this must be why people really like this. And I don't look for things, I should say, but I just think unconsciously, I don't consciously, I don't know what I'm saying, but what I'm trying to say is I think it does sway me in some way or another, my opinion, or not. It sways me a little. And I'll say this. This movie wasn't great. This movie wasn't, anything. It could have been better. But guess what? I enjoyed it. I watched it and I enjoyed it. It was much more popcorny than I thought. It was, it wasn't like a serious, okay, I got to turn these beeps off. It wasn't a serious, well thought out, wow, what a well-crafted, brilliant way of turning the tide on Dracula and focusing more on his familiar, his assistant, his servant. I'm going to do that throughout the whole thing. Renfield, played once again by Nicolas Hoult. I say once again because this is the second Hoult film that we've discussed here already. This is the first Nicolas Cage, but I pretty much can guarantee it's not the last Nicolas Cage of this year. Nicolas Cage he's an interesting fella because he's an incredibly good actor. He's a weird dude. He seemed like he got in a lot of money trouble to the point where he would make any shitty film. I remember watching, my cousin and I probably brought this up multiple times. We had this thing called Nickflix, where originally it was going to be, he was going to watch, I think, every Nicolas Cage movie and talk about it, like the terrible ones. But then it turned into like a punishment where we'd make a bet on something and the loser had to watch a terrible Nicolas Cage movie and write a blog about it. This was before we were doing podcasts all the time. And I watched just a really bad movie. It was like samurais, I think, and swords and sandals maybe. I don't even remember, but Hayden Christensen was in it and Nicolas Cage. And it was just like, but then he'll come back and he'll make years ago, I don't know where he'll be in Kick-Ass, and he'll be incredible. Weird as hell, but incredible in it. Or all of a sudden he's Spider-Pig in the animated Spider-Man movies. And then boom, he'll come out and he'll play himself in a movie. I might have spoiled the future day this month, but then he comes up and now we want him to be Dracula. And I feel like people cast him because they know A, he'll give a great performance, and B, he'll give he'll be weird. Like, it's almost like stunt casting. Like, we got Nicolas Cage. He's going to be friggin' Dracula. And it's not this new version of Dracula. He's basically trying to be the Bela Lugosi Dracula from the original Dracula film. This is supposed to be kind of in the same world as a direct sequel to that film. I liked how at the beginning they showed clips from the original movie, superimposing or reshooting. I'm not sure how they did it. I think they just shot him in green screen on close-ups, to make it look like, like it was the old movie where he was Bela Lugosi and Nicholas Hoult was Renfield, whoever the hell played Renfield. And I like that, it's like they've been together for all these years. They start setting up some rules, like, the familiar gets part of the powers. But why did Renfield eat bugs? Well, now they're saying he eats bugs to get powers. Like, he can, I guess in this world, he can do karate, and he can really have super strength, because this movie was so gory, but cartoon gory, not like a Saw movie where you're like, ooh, you're watching like someone get their eyeball stabbed, and it's like, it's supposed to be realistic. I mean, this was like just piles of blood and body parts in such a way that it was so violent that it wasn't violent. Like, it wasn't like gross. It was just like silly, like literally like a cartoon violence. Can you hear that? That's my knee as I'm walking. I'm walking around the kitchen doing this, and my knee just went crack. I'm gonna suffer someday, I think, in the future, and have some really bad knees. But if only I could drink the blood of a vampire. That was a good one. I knew that was coming. So anyway, the movie focuses on Renfield, but the kind of the dramatic piece of it was the idea of codependency, and how, someone who has to rely on someone who's really not good for them, and they kind of allow themselves to rely on them, even though they don't have to. I think that's what codependency is. I may not be, classically or defining it in the best way, but it's pretty close. So we find out that at one point Dracula, I can't help myself, he can get almost defeated. He'll get burnt to a crisp, but he doesn't die. I guess because they didn't do the stake through the heart. The sunlight will burn him up, but he'll eventually slowly come back to become, himself again. Now we see that happen, and then we see him later on in stages of coming back. I don't know if that was, that it took that long, or if that was just an example of him getting, beat up pretty good. But they've been doing this for the better part of 100 years. And now, at this time in life, Nicholas Holt's like, he's like looking for more in life. He goes to a self-help group. Well, I guess not a self-help group, a support group. If it was a self-help group, he'd be alone. He goes to a support group for people who are codependent, and he's there basically to find victims, not these people. I shouldn't say I think he went there originally just to find victims, not these people, but the people who are terrible to them. He figured those people aren't very good. I can get them, bring them back to master. But while he's doing that, he's also kind of connecting with these people and realizing, I'm kind of in the same boat. But at the beginning, he's like, one girl talks about how, and it was how terrible he makes me feel. But he also likes ska, and it was the whole thing of the ska music. That was an ongoing joke throughout the movie. So nothing was too serious. Even that was given some levity. So he goes off to basically beat these guys up, kidnap them, bring them back to let Dracula drink their blood. But unfortunately, someone else shows up because all these guys stole some cocaine from a crime family. They get killed, even though they're trying to live. He's trying to bring them back alive. They get killed. The guy who gets sent to kill them gets destroyed by Renfield, and then we meet this guy Teddy Lobo, played by Ben Schwartz, who I've always enjoyed. He's great on Parks and Rec as just a terrible person. I liked him in Space Force. I remember the first time I remember seeing him was on College Humor. You remember College Humor videos? I used to subscribe to the College Humor Video podcast so I could watch them on my phone or my little tablet on the train rides home from Boston. So that's where I remember seeing the first time. He's also the voice of Sonic the Hedgehog. So there's this kind of crime story going on. At the same time, you got Nicholas Hoult trying to better himself. At the same time, you meet a police officer, a New Orleans police officer, who's, we come to find out that her sister's an FBI, that her father was killed, that she knows a bunch of these cops are corrupt and basically work for the Lobo family, but she's trying to make something of herself. She's trying to bring down the Lobo family, but she's just stuck on traffic duty. This is played by Awkwafina, and I think I can say that I think I'm just an Awkwafina fan. Like, I like her delivery. I like her voice. I like the way she yells. She's like, ah! I just like her reactions. I like the way she tells one guy to shut the F up all the time. And I just like her. I remember her, I don't know the first time I remember seeing her. I know she was in Crazy Rich Asians. I know she was in the Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings. But I just know of her, and I'm almost the only thing I'm like, I wish she didn't like. This is really bad, but I wish she didn't use that name when she got famous, because I'm like, I always think of the drink. Like, I almost felt like she used the name as kind of a joke, and then she became really popular, and it's almost like, okay, you don't have to use that name anymore. You can just go by your name. I could be completely wrong, and just kind of, just my thought. Like, Dwayne Johnson's like, all right, I'm The Rock. Sure, that's my wrestler name, but I'm gonna start using Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Okay, now I'm just gonna start using Dwayne Johnson. You can just call me DJ, even though I still call him The Rock. But I know her as Awkwafina, so maybe she transcends the water. Either way, she makes me laugh. I just enjoy her reactions, her approach to things, and I don't know. I thought she was like a nice addition to this movie. She ends up, I think, becoming it was like friendship, but then the love interest to Nicolas Hoult. They never really did anything with it, but you could kind of see it sort of leaning that way. My knee is just popping, so you're going to have to deal with that. There it goes. That's also kind of like my shin or my ankle. I don't know. I'm not much of an athlete, so I think my body is just saying, hey, man, podcasting and sitting on chairs is really where it's at. But here I am walking around trying to better my physical well-being while talking about a movie. So this is basically the gist of it. You have Renfield trying to get people to bring back to Dracula. He brings back these dead bodies. They don't really, they're bad people. They're dead. They don't really work for him. They don't taste very good. So he must be doing it here and there, or Dracula's going on all right, because you see Nicolas Cage gradually getting better. At the same time, he doesn't want to be part of this anymore. He doesn't want to be with this Dracula. But Dracula at some point is like, you're the bad guy. You're the one who left your family. You left your wife. You left your daughter, 90 years ago. At the same time, you have he ends up just by chance in a restaurant where Teddy Lobo shows up to shoot the place up. He threatens to shoot Awkwafina, and then boom, Renfield eats a bug, and it's just blood sport of just destroying people, fighting and just crushing people. That's where they get connected. He's there to be the only witness, all these witnesses plus him, to say, hey, Teddy Lobo's a bad guy, but still no arrest. And then we have Teddy Lobo's mother. It's like the Lobo crime family now. She's played by an actress who I've seen on some TV shows, and she's got the deepest voice I've ever heard on a woman. I remember her. She was on the movie. The first time I think I saw her was on the show Flash Forward. Remember when that was almost a thing? And she has a deep voice like this. It's very deep. It goes down even lower sometimes. And she's the mom. She's basically the crime boss. They're like, what the hell? Who is this guy who beat up everybody? We need to find him. And because the cops are helping them, they say he was last seen in this hospital. Well, that's the hospital where they keep Dracula to try to get better. And he's slowly getting better. And at some point, Teddy Lobo goes there to figure out what the hell's going on. Dracula kills all the men, and then the two of them are together, and he's like, I can be there for you. I can help you. I know who this guy is. You know, he's not there for you. I'm there for you. Kind of shit like that. At one point, there's actually a funny. Well, there's a scene where now Renfield gets his own apartment. He starts dressing in bright colors. He's trying to change his life with the people from the support group, and Dracula shows up at his house because there's a welcome mat that allows him in. That was I enjoyed that scene because of Nicolas Cage's reaction. That was a very funny scene. And then he's like, I'm going to go kill everybody at the support group. And you're thinking that he's not going to do that. And then he freaking does it. He rips everyone's throat out, destroys them all. Luckily, they have some sort of retcon to fix it all later because Dracula Blood fixes people. And then at the end, I'm spoiling it, but you've seen it. At the end, it's like, well, thank you so much for giving us the Dracula Blood. That saved us, and it brought us all back from the other side, which we saw things that we will never unsee, and we know things that we'll never unknow. Like, you could see it really affected them being dead. The big ending, like, they have Aquafina's sister there for some reason. Like, we're gonna kill her unless you join me. But they don't join. Obviously, they fight Dracula together, and then they chop him up. It was actually kind of funny. They go, we look like we're having fun, but we don't really know how he can come back. So they chopped him up. They put him in all these different cement ice cube, like an ice cube tray of cement, chopped him up into a million pieces, dumped him in this garbage, and he's like, we don't know. Maybe he'll come back someday, but we don't know how. But we just want to make sure that if there's a way he can, we don't know if there's a way he can, but if it does, it'll take a long, long time. And I think they just get their happy ending. I really don't know. I don't remember what happens with the police force. I think a bunch of these cops are dead, so maybe she cleans up the police force. Who knows? It was probably said. It was, again, not a deep movie, just kind of a silly movie with some action. It had that, I don't want to call it Ghostbusters 2016 color effect, but it was very saturated with these greens and these oranges and these purples. Like, if you see the poster and you see all these colors over Nicolas Cage's shoulder, that was like almost the color palette for a lot of the movie. It just had that, it just gives it a certain style. I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying it just gives it that overly saturated, hyper-realistic coloring of lighting. Nicolas Cage was fun. I wish there was more of him, but again, the movie's called Renfield, so he is not the star of the movie. He's Nicolas Cage. He is the highlight of the movie. Let's be honest. But Nicholas Hoult, very great actor. Just in the menu the other day, very good in this. But again, not a great movie. It did not do well at the box office, but I enjoyed it. I guess I'm trying to say, like, I don't want to recommend this to you. I've already spoiled it for you, but I don't want to go around recommending it to people and then them going, that was kind of shitty. I just want to say, yeah, I know it's not the greatest movie in the world, but I had fun with it. I enjoyed it. It was a nice Friday afternoon. I get out of work a little early on Fridays, and I popped that on the old Peacock. So that was nice. I didn't rent it. I didn't buy it. I didn't go see it. I waited till it was on a subscription service that I already pay for. So there you go. I guess that says something about me. But also says something about this movie. Oh my goodness. I'm wondering what else I could say. I don't want to go through the whole plot of the movie. It's just Nicolas Cage, great. Wish there was more of him. He got to be weird. He got to play in different versions of him coming back. Like he was looked like a troll at some point. I didn't even think it was him in there, but it was definitely somehow digitally. It was digital or him, but it was definitely him. I loved all the old-fashioned stuff of the 1930s. That was fun to see. And I say Chris McKay's the director of this. Now, all I know him from is the Lego movies. I was thinking Adam McKay, which is the Will Ferrell stuff, and he just did a big movie. The big movie last year, Don't Look Up, on Netflix. But this was Chris McKay. And it was written, well, it wasn't written, I should say, but the original story was from Robert Kirkman. He wrote the story as an idea for a comic book, then he turned it into this. If you don't know who Robert Kirkman is, he is the writer of Invincible, which is a I've heard great things about the comic. They made an Amazon Prime show about it. I watched it. It's an animated show about superheroes, and guess what? It's freaking great. And by the way, he's also the guy who created The Walking Dead, a comic book that I read. I started reading a million years ago. I found these big hardcovers at the library, and I read it, and I'll say it to the day I die. I swear to God, I said to my wife, I said, Tammy, this reads like a series, like a season of television. Like, it was so well done. It was all in black and white. It was very creepy, and it was just an old great story. And then they turned it into a TV show that became a phenomenon. And then it was just a show that was on way too long, and a show that I stuck with, even though I was kicking myself watching it. I read the comic book all the way to the end, and even then sometimes I was like, what's going on? Who are these people? And then you get back into it, and then it ended. And I thought the ending of the comic book was great. Probably better than the ending of the TV show, because it feels like the TV show is never going to end. It's gone, but there's more coming. I don't know if I'll watch it. I probably will. I'm getting on sidetrack. This has nothing to do with Renfield, except for the fact that Robert Kirkman wrote the story that then came up with the story that then became the movie Renfield, which is the one I just watched. Yep. I think that means I'm officially done. It's about 9:27 p.m., so we'll see on Eastern Standard Time in the United States of America. So we'll see how long it takes for me to get this up and done. I don't have an image yet. I don't know if I stick my head on Renfield's body or Dracula's body. I feel like, based on the way I've been talking, the way I started off, that I feel like I must put my head on Dracula's body. So that's it, my friends. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for subscribing. No, wait. I got other things to say. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Geek Mentality. The Facebook page is Fans Not Experts. The website is fansnotexperts.com. We are 9 days down. We have 21 days to go, 21 movies to go, 21 podcasts to go. And tomorrow's day 10. And until then, my friends, until tomorrow, thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. I'll see you after I take my mother-in-law out to lunch with my wife for her birthday. Then I'll watch a movie later. Here is my theme song.
This is my podcast, I made it. Geek Mentality's what I named it. And I think you should listen and subscribe, 'cause I'm kinda funny and awesome. I think that I'm worth your time, and I'm kinda handsome. My mom says, please listen and please subscribe. At least listen to this episode. Fans Not Experts.